Hi everyone, Luke Davids here. Welcome to the final week in the songwriting series. Over the last 6 weeks, we've been discussing the 5 key elements of a song, covering some practical techniques and formulas you can apply to your own songwriting, and just talking about some general songwriting tips. In last week's video, we covered element number 4, melody, and I shared something called the melody arc. If you haven't had a chance to watch that video yet, be sure to go back and check it out. I'll put the link in the description. This week we'll be focusing on the last element, which is lyrics. Now, most of the songwriters I talk to say that this is the element they struggle with the most, myself included. And when I stop to think about why that is, I realize that for me it's because creative writing is a whole other world separate from songwriting with all of its own rules and practices, which can make it feel a little intimidating. But as songwriters, we're going to be approaching lyric writing differently than someone who's writing pure poetry or prose. We have a little more leeway when it comes to the rules since we're combining the element of creative writing with songwriting. So tip number 1 is utilize your poetic license when necessary. Don't sacrifice a great line just because it might not be 100% grammatically correct on paper. Remember, melody is king, so when you're combining words and melody, you have to strike a balance between the two. If it sounds better and sings easier to drop a word or syllable in a lyric line and you can still maintain the meaning, then do it. Lyrics, just like everything else, will improve with practice, and today we're going to cover some things that will help give you some direction and a tool that you can use to help get the ball rolling on a new set of lyrics. So firstly, let's review the goal of lyrics, which is to create a personal connection with the listener. It's the lyrics that have the power to make people fall in love with a song in a deeper way than any of the other elements can do. As lyricists, it's not only our job to connect with the listener, but also to say something that's already been said in a new and intriguing way. There have been thousands of songs written about essentially the same topics, falling in love, breakups, etc. When we're writing lyrics, we want to try to consider these familiar topics from a slightly different angle. Often the way you experience something like a breakup will have its own unique details, so use those and infuse the genuine emotion of your experience into your lyrics. When it comes to lyric writing, there are 2 major schools of writers, metaphorical and literal. Metaphorical writers usually like to let the listener decide what the song is about. They're usually saying one thing and hinting at something else. This can make metaphorical writing more widely relatable since each listener will be putting their own spin on the lyrics and deciding what the song means to them. With literal lyric writing, on the other hand, there's no mistaking what's being said. You're describing a story or a situation in a way that all listeners will interpret the same. So let's take a look at some of the characteristics of each school and find out which one you fall into. Some basic traits of metaphorical writing are that the lyrics are more cryptic, they use less specific details, and they tend towards more emotional explanations, so they talk more about the way things felt emotionally. Literal lyric writing, on the other hand, is very to the point. They usually use a lot of specific details, and they tend towards more sensory explanations. So they talk about the way things looked, sounded, the specific colors or physical feelings. In general, the metaphorical writers are mostly found in the singer-songwriter or folk world, and literal lyric writers are very common in the country world, with pop kind of being an even blend of the two. So have a think about which school you fall into. If you enjoy telling a story that everyone can follow along with, complete with lots of specific details describing the scene, chances are you're more of a literal lyric writer. If, on the other hand, you like to leave your lyrics more open-ended so that the listener can decide what they mean to them, you're probably more of a metaphorical writer. Most writers will be a blend of both schools with a slightly stronger pull towards one side, and this might not necessarily be something you choose. For me, metaphorical writing just comes more naturally, probably because I listen to mostly artists that are metaphorical writers. No matter which school you fall into, one thing is for sure: people connect with genuine emotion. So let's cover a tool that can help you get the ball rolling on some new ideas and help you identify some genuine emotional themes that you can use in your lyrics. So this is similar to a typical brainstorming technique. What you'll do is get a piece of paper or open up a text document on your computer and write down the general concept for your song in the middle. If you don't have a concept yet, then that's step number 1, but let's assume that your concept is a breakup you experienced. So in the middle of the piece of paper or the document, you'll write breakup. Then start filling the page around it with other words, emotions, details, anything that comes up that's related to that concept. Don't worry about how these words or phrases sound at the moment, just write. Once you get the ball rolling in these brainstorming sessions, they can be extremely effective. If you're writing about something that isn't a personal experience, then you'll be using some imagination here, but the same process applies. This document can serve as a lyric fodder later on down the road if you get stuck writing your lyrics, and you can refer back to it to refresh your memory and conjure up those genuine feelings that accompany your concept. One other thing that varies a lot with songwriters is whether they write the lyrics or the melody first. For me, I started out as a musician and became a songwriter later on, so it's always the music and melody that comes first. Then when I have a rough idea of the melody, I'll start trying to fill in the holes, singing kind of nonsensical words or syllables over the melody, anything that sounds good, and then I'll find little nuggets and try to grow some ideas or phrases from there. If you're more creative writing minded, then you might start with the lyrics first, and that's great too. It's whatever works for you. But remember that when we're combining words and melody, melody is king. So if you get to a point where you have to make sacrifices to one of those two elements, always choose to alter the lyrics. A line that sings well and fits seamlessly over a strong melody is more important than how the lyric line looks on paper. So a quick overview. Utilize your poetic license when necessary. Play to your strengths, whether they be metaphorical or literal. Use a brainstorming technique to get the ball rolling on some new ideas, and infuse as much genuine emotion into your lyrics as possible. And always remember that in the balance between melody and lyrics, melody remains king. So that's it for this week's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found this video useful. Let me know if you enjoyed the songwriting series and if there are any specific things you'd like me to cover in future videos. If you haven't seen the full songwriting series yet, I'll put a link to a playlist in the description. Thank you guys again for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more songwriting videos. I'll see you all next time. Bye.